At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger, taking a live look here at the Sundial Bridge camera. It's taking a little bit longer for the sun to rise because, of course, as you know, on Sunday we set those clocks forward an hour. It's a little darker earlier in the morning, but we do get that extra hour of daylight toward the evening hours, which is kind of the overall concept of daylight saving time and how that all begins to work. All right, hoping to have a good start to your Tuesday. It's a little chilly in some spots, especially for many of the higher elevations. Let's get you to, there we go, the weather maps. And of course, we're going to start off with Krueger's Quickcast. And for those of you that are new to Weather NorCal, just note that Krueger's Quickcast is just a quick look at the forecast for the day, so you know what to expect for the day. Just a few minutes, and then of course we're going to do a deeper dive after that. All right, temperatures right now, it just depends on where you are. The winds have been blowing in some spots, and that's going to keep those temperatures up for some of the valley locations. 56 degrees for Red Bluff, for example, but cooler at the Reading Airport at 49, where the winds are calmer. 32 degrees right now in Alturas, 48 though in Susanville, 42 degrees in Crescent City, and 40 in Eureka. All right, out the door this morning, some clouds. You may have noticed if you've been outside at all, we've got the mostly cloudy skies out there. No rain to really speak of, just the cloudy skies that we do have out there. We should see some clearing. So you can see a little dip in the jet stream. You see that little kind of U-shaped curve that we're seeing there, kind of just to the east of us. That's kind of a weak disturbance that's pushed on through. And that's really what's giving us the cloud cover that we're seeing this morning, but high pressure building in behind that. That's going to give us some breaks in the clouds here throughout the morning and afternoon. A little breezy in some spots here as we take you through the day today, especially on the west and north side of the valley, 10, even 20, 25 miles per hour, even as we go into this evening. But I do expect calmer winds, but still a little breezy at times over the next few days. So temperatures around 70, give or take, for the valley, and for the mountains and for the coast, generally in the 40s and 50s. Now tonight, around 40, give or take, for the valley, 20s and 30s for the mountains, and looks like upper 30s to around 40 for the coast. So temperatures are going to increase after today. We'll see a bit more sunshine for your Wednesday, Thursday, up to about 80 by Thursday, Friday in Reading. Temperatures increasing more by the weekend, and look at Monday. Monday, Reading could get up to 88 degrees, maybe 89, maybe even 90. That's not out of the question. That's something we'll be watching very closely. Meanwhile, for the coast, upper 50s, low 60s, and we've got the 60s, even some 70s for the inland areas and for Trinity County, 60s and 70s for the higher elevations as well. You can see around Mount Shasta, you're up to about 75, as well as Alturas on Monday. Look at Susanville on Monday, a high of about 80 degrees. All right, that's a look at your Krueger's Quickcast. Not much going on there. You can't really see much from the Lake Oroville camera there. Taking a look at Main Street Chico on Highway 32. Looks like we don't have much traffic out there this morning. Looks like traffic is flowing smoothly on Highway 99 at Neal Road. Here's a look at Reading. Sundial Bridge Drive on Highway 44. It looks like traffic is flowing smoothly there as well. Take you out to Crescent City, Harbor District. Looks like a little bit of drizzle or just some dust particles flying in the sky there. The camera's picking up there, but still rather dark this morning. There you can see Bald Hill West looking down at Hoopa Valley. You can see the city lights there and the overcast skies that we have overhead. Looking out at Soda Ridge, typically we can take a look at Mount Shasta there, but we can't really see the mountain there this morning. Looking at Fort Jones, some of the lights there coming in from Fort Jones and some of the areas there in Scott Valley in general. Taking a look at Lassen Park this morning, still of course have plenty of snow up there. But we're starting to see more of that snow melt because it is getting warmer out there and that's keeping those temperatures up and it's helping to melt some of that snow as well. All right, that is a look at your Krueger's Quickcast, some of the latest cameras. Let's get you right into that deeper dive forecast for your Tuesday, March 10th. We're going to go ahead and take a look at our weather headlines. And you got mainly dry conditions, breezy at times, and warm this week. Should be a pleasant weekend. We got mainly dry conditions through at least the middle, if not even to the latter part of the month. Now, speaking of the latter part of the month, I am seeing the potential for maybe some changes and a little bit of wet weather toward the end of the month, but nothing guaranteed at this point. All right, let's take a look at those temperatures out there right now. You can see about 49 degrees for Reading, 56 degrees in Red Bluff. Again, I was mentioning those winds are blowing a little bit in some spots here, and that is keeping those temperatures up a bit in some areas like Red Bluff at 56, like Corning at 55, even out in Chico, 52. Calmer winds in Oroville at about 49 degrees right now. Much colder up in El Turris at 32, 37 for Mount Shasta City, and we've got those low 40s right now for you along the coast. So we have a little bit of a ridge right here. You can kind of see that little arc. That's a ridge of high pressure. But what you'll also notice right here, see that dip in the jet stream? That is a very weak disturbance that pushed on through. That's what's giving us the cloud cover out there this morning. It's just not bringing us any rainfall. So what's going to happen is we got more of a, if you look closer, you'll see just kind of a bit of a flat jet stream right here. Okay, this is what we call a zonal flow type pattern because we don't have a prominent ridge of high pressure or a prominent trough of low pressure, but we do see these weak disturbances kind of within that flow. And if you're in the direct path of that jet stream, then you tend to see the cloud cover, you tend to see some of the rain and even some snow that's associated with it. Now also think of the jet stream as a boundary between the colder air, which you can clearly see here. See the speckled clouds, that's that cold air. And then that's the cold air. So the north of that jet stream, right? South of the jet stream, that's where you've got the warmer air. And that's where we are. And that's why our temperatures have been warmer. So there's that zonal flow type pattern I was talking about. And that zonal flow pattern, for the most part, will be the story for the rest of the week. This is going to mean some sunshine, some clouds pushing on through, but most of the rain and snow will be confined over the Pacific Northwest. Some of those may try to clip Northern California, but overall dry conditions here. Then we go into the weekend. Now you see, as we go into the weekend, in particular next week, we start to see that ridge of high pressure begin to build in. As this gets stronger, we are going to be looking at significantly warmer temperatures for your Monday, Tuesday. Now, as I mentioned, mid to upper 80s in the valley, but some areas could flirt with, if not even touch, that 90-degree mark by the time we get into Monday, Tuesday of next week. Keep in mind, we're still in winter. Spring doesn't officially arrive until a week from Friday. All right, so we're still kind of a bit of ways out there. Drier than normal conditions coming in from the Climate Prediction Center and warmer than normal conditions. There's your 10-day outlook. Temperatures are going to be somewhere around 80 degrees by Thursday, Friday. So we're seeing this uptick in the temperatures. More so for the weekend, low to mid 80s, and then we kind of peak around Monday, Tuesday of next week, where again, you got those upper 80s for some of the warmer spots. As I mentioned, we're flirting with, if not even touching 90 degrees for some of the warmer spots in the valley Monday, Tuesday, and then you'll start to see the temperatures a bit of a downward trend after that. Looking at the lake levels, of course, we talked about this yesterday. It's still looking really healthy. Water content, we're great. Right? I showed you the rainfall totals for the season. Doing great. Lake levels, as you can see here, we're doing great. It's just the snowpack. The snowpack certainly could be doing better. That's that reserve that we typically see. Once we start to kind of use all of the water that we have, then a lot of time those are reserves from the snowpack melts into our reservoirs and helps out as well. But we just don't have that really. Now, when we look at the wave heights, still a little high to start off, but they are dropping through the day today and even going into your Thursday as well. All right, your Wednesday and Thursday. So for today, north winds at 15 to 20 knots. Still a little strong with those winds. Waves still a little high, but we don't have any small craft advisories or any gale warnings for that matter. So here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. We're going to be looking at temperatures in the upper 50s to around 60 for Trinity County. So a little bit cooler out there today. And the reason being is we've got the clouds out there this morning. They're going to have a hard time clearing out completely, so we'll call it at least partly to mostly cloudy skies here for today. And for the coast, temperatures, even inland, you're not even going to reach the 60s, probably somewhere in the mid to upper 50s there. Looks like mainly in the 40s, some low 50s for Siskiyou County, places like Mount Shasta, 52, 54 degrees in McLeod, and Dunsmuir about 53 degrees. Take you out to Modoc County, generally around 50, although you can see pretty cool out towards Fort Bidwell at 46, 45 degrees in Cedarville, but you see how it's getting warmer. Back in the 70s by Friday through the weekend. Eastern Mountains, you're looking at temperatures in the 50s and 60s. Paradise about 65, 60 for Shingletown, and 61 degrees for Westwood. So again, the temperatures today are going to be noticeably cooler out there for today, but then they start to go back up again. You can see out towards Oroville, for example, 69 today, but back in the 70s, and even the 80s by the time we get into Sunday and Monday. So look at your 7-day forecast for Chico, upper 70s for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, low to mid 80s by Sunday and Monday. All right, we take you up to the north, 70 for Redding, 71 Anderson, 70 in Cottonwood, as well as Red Bluff, 70 in Palo Cedro and Whiskeytown, about 66 degrees. There's your 7-day forecast for Redding, up to about 80 degrees by Thursday, Friday, low to mid 80s over the weekend, and 88. And that might be on the conservative side. We could get to 89, maybe 90 by the time we get into Monday and maybe even Tuesday of next week. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a bit warmer out there here as we, overall, as we go into next week. I'm going to see if it works, where I can check in with you all and show your posts that you do here. Let's see if it works. Should we hope for the best? That's not working. For some reason, it's stuck on Kimberly here from, a couple weeks ago. I got to try to see if I can get in there and fix it, because I like to show your comments in here. But here's what some of you all are saying here. First, to check in was Lisa Stevens saying happy Tuesday to you all. Jackie saying good morning, as well as Jay. We got Debbie Castro saying, how is everyone doing with a time change? Tell me again why it's such a worthy habit. I agree. It goes way back in time. It was to basically give us that extra time. I know we voted on it years and years ago, and we said, let's go ahead and get rid of it, but it has yet to make it through Congress and the House of Representatives and all that stuff. It's how the whole bill thing works, right? Let's got Curtis Brown saying, good morning, Mike. Pruning the vineyard today. Just starting to bud out. Yeah, we'll probably start to see that. It's still winter. We're not even in spring yet, and we're really starting to see a lot of those wildflowers come out, a lot of spring type of activity occurring. I guess for those of you that are planting or impacted by this as far as agriculture or gardening, whatever it may be, I guess you just don't want to see that, freeze. And we're still not out of the woods of that just yet, although I don't see any freezes coming anytime soon. Donna is saying, I don't like the time change. And I think you, along with many other people who don't like the time change, I feel as though we just need to pick one and stick with it. I would say probably most people would want to stick with the time that we have now and just not mess with the clocks. And I know there are places like, I think in Arizona, they don't change their clocks. So we're starting to see some areas that are beginning to do that. It'd be nice if as a nation, we could just agree on that. And I would actually love to only see 2 time zones, a west and east time zone. But now we're getting way off the topic there, right? But yeah, that's kind of what we're dealing with here with that time change. I know I've been fine. I got a some good naps in this weekend. I got a nice nap in yesterday, so I'm feeling pretty good, feeling pretty energized. Was feeling pretty energized yesterday as well. All right, folks, well, that's going to do it for us today. What do you say we get ready for a beautiful Tuesday? Again, just some of the clouds out there this morning. I don't anticipate any rainfall, but you are going to be looking at slightly cooler temperatures today than what we did see yesterday before we start to see that increase in the temperatures. We're taking a look at some cameras here. Start off with some Soda Ridge. We'll call it a morning. Yeah, it's a quick show, but we'll call it a morning. and we will see you again here tomorrow morning at 6:30 on Coffee with Krueger. Have a great rest of your day.